I just have been playing Overwatch for like a really long time.
Hmm.
I started back in like 2016 when it first released, all the way when it was like no limits, do whatever. Um, oh, I do play on console, just as an FYI.
Yep.
And I've been on like teams before. I've played with various amount of people, and I've kind of been stuck at the Masters range for like basically all of Overwatch. So I was finally like, maybe I should look into getting some coaching. And I was told by some of my friends that you were like a pretty reputable person. And I was like, sure, why not? I could try it at this point.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. You've been stuck in console masters for quite some time. Okay,
Yeah,
and that's kind of where
yeah.
you're going at. And how long have you been playing Overwatch, period? And then how long have you been masters?
Been playing since 2016.
Okay.
I was always really serious about like playing competitive shooters. So right out the gate, I was like getting into comp as soon as it released. And then I started off in plat, and very, very quickly, like season one was a little bit weird. I don't really think many people knew what was happening, but as soon as they
Yep.
actually released real ranks, I got into plat, and then the next season after that, I hit diamond really quickly, and
Mm-hmm.
then was stuck in diamond, but would hit like highs at the season of like getting just to masters, and then falling back to diamond, and now it like over the years it kind of went to I would be in masters for a long period of time, uh, and then slightly fall down to diamond for a little bit, and now I'm kind of just in masters.
Okay, makes sense. So there's been basically a lot of flux over the years, but basically still hovering around like the Diamond Masters level,
Yeah.
consistently being a solid player, a good player, a very good player, but not quite as good as you specifically want to.
Other than when they had the weird rank system for Overwatch 2 where it was like if you win like 5 or out of 5 games. I hit GM on Doomfist and I hit GM1 just playing Doomfist alone, but that was on tank, that was on Doomfist,
What season?
and um I can't remember. But I was like that was I think that would have been what season are we on right now? We're
Season
on
13, I believe.
13, then I think that would have been like season 8 or something like that, where
Yeah, yeah.
the rank system was like if you win so many games out of 10 or something, you'll basically go up a bunch of rank.
Yeah. I mean, it was a pretty. And the reason I ask is not to be a doomer here, but it was pretty forgiving at times. Like season
Oh,
four.
I agree. I
Yeah.
don't think that like reflected my actual rank at all.
Right. But still, like I mean, you're a great player. Like, let's just like I think statistically, like I think master. I mean, I know from we have from the insights from the developers. I don't know if you saw the graph they posted, but masters is it's a lot harder to hit in Overwatch 2 than it was in Overwatch 1, at least currently. So
Really? Okay.
yeah,
Because that was actually like part of what I was going to talk to you about today is last season when I tried booking coaching from you,
yep.
I was like hitting like I was like basically almost GM, and then this season I'm having like a really hard time even just staying in Masters 5. Like it is rough, and I'm wondering if something happened this season or I just all of a sudden am bad or something. I don't know, but
Okay, let me send you something really quick. This is just good for the good knowledge.
okay.
So there's the Reddit post, and in the comments, that's basically what Morgan Madron had posted, developer for Overwatch 2. And in the comments,
Okay.
somebody does a breakdown, basically bronze 4.8, silver 20.4, gold 36.7, plat, diamond 9.2, masters
Masters
1.7.
1.7.
If I
Yeah.
remember correctly, masters used to be 3%.
Mm,
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
I'm right in the same comment. There's actually a reply. Yeah, so Masters is a lot harder. So like we talk about, if you're in Masters, you're in the top 2.1% essentially, whereas back in the
Okay.
day you're in the top 4%. So it's almost
Yeah.
compared to Overwatch 1 2018, it's almost twice as hard to get
Right.
Masters as it
Okay.
was, right? So essentially like where you're at right now, being a mid Masters player is almost like being a high Masters player.
The only thing that I would like ask if you know though is this like all like platforms or is this like PC only?
All platforms.
Oh,
Yeah, all
okay,
platform. As
okay.
far as I know, I mean, if it's not all, if this graph is specifically about PC, but the extrapolation will be this basically the same. The bell
Right,
curve will be the
right.
same on console, right? So like you're
Okay.
still in the top tier of the players with console. So I mean, you're still like I'm not doing this for cope. Like you should still like
Yeah,
feel a sense of
yeah.
progression. I guess for you, I think it's really dangerous to have a mentality of like I'm hard stuck, because the reality is like the only hard stuck people are people that are like below average, I guess I would say.
Okay.
Or where you're applying a level of effort that's not giving the return on investment. Like, for example, if you would be
He
considered hard
definitely is.
stuck if you were playing, like, let me look at your play time a day. Okay, so you're playing 3 to 5 hours a day. That's a lot of Overwatch. But like, let's say that you were playing like 5 to 6 and hard scrimming and whatever, and you were stuck in
Yeah.
like Masters. That would be a slightly different story where I would consider you hard
Right.
stuck, because the level of effort you're putting versus the return you're getting is not equal. Whereas what you're doing right
Okay.
now, it's pretty close. It's pretty close. I would
Right.
say that you're probably underperforming a little bit, but also keep in mind play time's not the only variable that really matters. So it's just what I would say is like
Right.
you're pretty close to where you could expect with the amount of effort that you're putting in. Now, what we're going to do
Right.
is we're going to try to make your effort more efficient, right?
Yeah.
Find things that'll make you more efficient use of your time and maybe correct some errors here and there. But like, I mean, the reality is like if you want to get to Grandmaster, it's hard. It's just hard. Like there isn't any really. It's not just hard. It's really hard, right? There's a
Right.
reason why most players don't do it is because most players don't want to put in the time and the work. Because it's hard, you know, and like you really have to love Overwatch. It's not even that most people couldn't physically do it. Like if you held a gun to their head, you know,
Yeah,
most
yeah.
people could do it, but it's just, do you want to do that? So,
I think
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say I think as far like for the first part, which is like the hard stuck stuff, and my mental on that, I think part of it is because I'm on console, it's like really easy to play with like people that I've known for years just because of how easy it is to have like a party system. So I would say that out of let's just say like 10 friends, I'm in like the middle to lower of rank versus the rest of them. So there's almost like this competitive drive between like not that like anybody's ever like said this to me, but just in my own head where it's just like I want to be like just as good as the people that I'm playing with or better, and that's kind of like I guess a lot of the motivation where that comes from. So when I see that like they're doing really well in some of the games that we'll play and I'm like I don't know like average or doing below average, it like I don't know. It bugs me. I want to be doing just as well. I want to like hold my own.
Yeah.
And then for the second part, which is like the idea of like hitting GM or past that, the rank isn't exactly what matters to me. What matters to me is more of like why did I lose this game? Or why am I doing the things that I'm doing? The rank will, I don't know, it's just like a number, but it just when I'm losing and I don't know why, or I'm sitting there and I'm just like, man, should I be going on this flank or should I be picking a different character and I leave the
Yeah.
game and I don't know what happened? That really bugs me. It's not so much the
Yeah.
rank, it's like the I don't know what I could have done differently, and that like I hate that so much.
Okay, so it's more like not feeling like you have ownership of your mistakes, essentially.
Yeah,
Like,
like some games they do, but the games that don't, those like really bug me.
yeah, okay, makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I will say that that's both a blessing and a curse, because if you have ownership of your mistakes, then you might have to come to terms with sometimes where it's like that mistake may never be fixed because I'm not going to be able to put the time in to fix that problem, right?
Okay.
So it's like sometimes the ignorance is also a little bit of like, oh well, it's kind of. But as soon as you open that mystery box, like you're cursed with knowledge, like that's kind of where
Right.
I'm at, for example, right? Where I understand pretty much everything that I need to be doing, but I'm not always able to execute it fast enough in the moment and or mechanically
Right.
execute on it, right? So it's good to have that, like a sense of owning your errors, but you need to understand that you will never correct all of your errors. Never.
Okay.
It's not,
Okay.
even if you were the best player in the world, you could never correct all your errors. So you're just going to have to live with your failures at some point in time. But that being said, we can absolutely educate you on like knowing exactly what went wrong
Right.
and a sense of progress. But I will say that like everyone hits a ceiling, right? So for you, that process of kind of grinding uphill has to be somewhat enjoyable. Not saying that you're not saying that it is, but it does have
Right.
to be somewhat enjoyable otherwise, because it never really ends, right? Like,
Right.
do you think Michael Jordan was ever like perfectly happy at the skill level that he was ever at, right? Like that's kind of like,
Right.
you have to be happy with not being perfect, right? So, but you have to enjoy that process.
Okay.
Okay, so Tracer mostly at the time of the form, is that still the case?
Yeah, I tried like finding maybe some games where I could play Venture or Reaper because I would say those are the other characters that I play a lot. But I was just never able to like most of the games where I was playing those characters, it was just like a steamroll, and the enemy team like they weren't. It wasn't even competitive. So
Yeah,
all of my reviews are just of Tracer.
works
What
for
I
me.
will say though is yeah, like when we're going over this, like kind of my, I guess, like end goal is knowing, okay, what can I do on Tracer specifically, and then what are just like some general DPS tips that maybe I could apply to a character like
Yeah,
Reaper or
yeah,
Venture, because they're not all the same, but like their play styles are generally, I think, similar, where you're taking like short
yeah.
off angles.
You got it.
Um,
Yeah. No, you're
so
100% right. Yeah, 100% right. Like,
okay,
I mean, basically, the only major difference between Tracer and Reaper is Tracer has more flexibility with angles, but
right,
has less frontline presence. So,
right,
for example, Reaper has more limitations with how he can position, but he
okay,
also can put more pressure on a lot of targets. Tracer can shoot tank. She just doesn't shoot tank as well as a Reaper. So that's compensated by her being a little bit more flexible with how she can position. Like basically what happens is when you have the ability to position on any angle that you want, the game is going to take something away from you. And with
okay,
Tracer, it's really burst potential, right? It's more about sustained threat and taking whatever position that you want. Whereas you look at a character like Widowmaker, look at a character like Bastion, I mean, they could shoot legit anything, put out so much pressure, but they're paired with severe positioning restrictions, right?
right, okay,
And so Venture is kind of the same thing. Like I look at Venture as being somewhere in between the two, between Reaper and Tracer, right? A
okay,
little bit more consistent mobility than Reaper. Definitely some burst potential in there as well. But you're not as good at shooting tanks.
right.
And you can't flank quite as deep as Tracer. So like they are very similar. So I think the
Okay.
only major difference would be potentially that Reaper Venture have more direct verticality with their setup, which is a huge
Right,
limitation
right.
of Tracer. But I mean, they're all going to operate in essentially the same way.
Okay.
Like even Venture, I think a lot of people tend to kind of lean too much into the combos when in reality, all I need to do is hold the angle and decide if you want to use your CDs from the angle if you get
Right.
contested. In the same way that a Tracer doesn't chase targets with blinks, she takes the angle and then she fights with blinks. Venture takes the angle and then fights with CDs. Reaper takes angle and fights with Wraith. You don't Wraith to
Okay.
an angle, right? Okay, let's
Right.
keep going here. And what we'll do is, if there's anything that we go through, and I'll try to remember, it'll be like, hey, this would be a good Reaper angle, this would be a good Venture angle. What would you do if you
Okay.
were here?
Okay.
But I mean, that's
Sure.
really all DPS is take an angle that complements your character's range, and then use your CDs on that angle. That's pretty much all it
Right.
is.
Okay. The maps that I have three. I feel like we're
Mm-hmm.
probably only going to go over two because most of the time that's how these sessions go. I've
Yep,
seen a
yep.
couple.
Sometimes only
Um,
one. Sometimes only one. It really depends
sometimes,
on how
yeah.
thorough
Hey,
we
yeah.
go.
So what I want to do is I found that like what's like a good point? I don't know. Like any King of the Hill point, I find Tracer to be relatively pretty easy because all of them have flanks.
Yep,
Which is one of the maps that I'm gonna like want to show. And then the
yep.
other map that I want to show is one that has like big high grounds, and those are the maps that I really struggle on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what would you think would be better to start off first? One where I'm like really struggling, or one where it's just like I'm kind of doing okay, but we ended up losing anyways?
I prefer ones where you have questions, whether you felt like you played well or not. So if you feel like the high ground map, you were like there was a lot of questions and concerns about what
Okay.
you needed to be doing, maybe that's a good one to start with.
Okay.
Um,
Sure. We'll do Havana then.
okay,
I'll type it
sure,
what the code is.
go for it. And then when you're done, I've got a couple more questions for you before we get started.
Sure, sure.
Got it.
That
Okay.
should be Havana.
So going back to your form, we talked a little bit about
Yeah.
your routine already. You're getting a lot of playtime, at least on the surface, but you talk a
Yeah.
little bit about how your brain goes in instinct mode and you sometimes
Oh
lose
yeah.
focus. You need a bit more of a routine on every map to help with that. Like, let's go on a high ground or flank. The problem is when I'm in situations that are weird to play into, I lose that thinking and go off of instincts. This can do me more harm than good. Okay, so basically, from your understanding right now, how do you practice Overwatch? Like, not play optimally, but how do you practice optimally from your understanding?
Are we talking like mechanics, or are we just talking the whole
Anything.
shebang?
Anything.
Anything? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's like I think it's like Vaxta or something like that, which is how I will like practice pulse bombs because sometimes my pulse bombs can be very hit or miss.
Okay.
So I'll just go into like a training range while
So
I'm in queue.
practice drill specific skills and Vaxta.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then while I'm in a game, I have like so some of my friends are like generally Masters player or GM players, so
Mm-hmm.
they've like VODed some of my stuff, and I have a piece of paper literally right in front of me where it's just like um problems that I have. So like sometimes, or at least that they've noticed, where it's just like, oh, I
Yep.
could go kill this like half HP
Yeah.
target, but instead I'm shooting their tank on point for some reason as
Sure.
Tracer.
Sure. Okay.
So I will try and look at this like paper or past problems that people have told me about, and then
Mm-hmm.
I will try to focus on doing that. The problem with that, like I said, with the weird situations was if it's a weird situation, then I'm like, I don't know what I should do, and the paper isn't helping me because I'm like, well, I don't, that's not on the paper, and then I like kind of like lose myself a little bit. But generally, it's past games, past experiences that people have told me that I'm doing, and when I get into a game, I try and be like, okay, why am I here? What am I doing? Is generally how I practice Overwatch.
Gotcha. 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 Okay. Yeah. So I think you just nailed like one of the biggest issues with playing to improve. And I actually ran into this in 2019 when I was coaching the Sydney Drop Bears, an Australian
Okay.
contenders team. And I had such a difficult time finding out how I would keep relevant goals in practice. I could not figure out how to do it. And
Right.
what I ended up doing is I ended up doing some map specific goals, but I think that even didn't work all that well. What I ended up learning over the years, and I actually learned this more with one-on-one coaching, with that carried over to team coaching, which is kind of funny, is you have to have goals that are specific enough that you can practice no matter what you're playing versus, and something that is not that's not situational and not vague. Like I need to work on my position, I need to work on my CD usage, I need to work on my pulse hums. No, vague garbage. You have to give yourself something direct. If I were to tell you, Hot Chills, I want you to focus on really being deliberate with your 180 blinks when you're dueling a target. Like every time you get into a
Right.
duel, I want to see those 180 blinks. I want to go blink through them, pivot, blink through them, pivot. I want it done. I don't care about your positioning. I don't care about your pulse hums. I don't care about your aim. I don't care about your angles or anything. I just want to see you blink it. You can do that.
Right.
You could do that,
That-
and you will get
that'd
the
that'd be
reps,
awesome.
right? And that's so simple, right? But it's so important, right? If I said
Right.
trigger discipline, stop holding down the trigger, clip it, like give it a couple of bullets, realign your crosshair, give it a couple more bullets. Like every time you shoot, I do not want your brain turned off. I want you engaged. Or
Okay.
I want you to look at the fight or look at your team before the fight starts. That's it. That's it. Look at your fight team before, so you know, so you have an idea where the fight's going to happen, right? Or you kind of see what I'm saying? Like these are things that you can kind of sink your teeth into. And the funny thing about it is when I coach people, because these things are so global, whether I'm coaching a bronze player or a top 500 player, I often end up giving the same feedback. With a few exceptions, like some micro stuff, I'll lean more into the higher level games, right? But
Sure, sure.
for the most part, it ends up being the same feedback because every tracer needs to generally work on the same skills. Some of us are just further up the skill pattern in terms of how good we are at them, right? But what we do is we look for those things that you can actually sink your teeth into and actually specifically practice, even if they're on a high ground map or on their counters or no counters, or if it's Oasis or Ilios, it doesn't matter. You actually have something that you can drill over and over and over and over and over again. And that's what we need to find, because if you're struggling to apply feedback, that's why. It's not
Right,
you.
right.
It's the type of feedback. Now, for you, if I were to give you good feedback, like give you very specific actionable things, that's going to definitely help things. However, you're still going to struggle with going back to instinct mode. The brain is lazy. Let me explain to you why this is. As humans, we only adapt when we're forced to. Okay. All right.
Actually, my mom has said things like that before. Yeah.
Right. So if it basically the human is like, okay, when we need to do something, we will do it, but it's calorically inefficient. Okay, you're gonna get for us to put effort in something that isn't necessarily a life or death moment. Okay. So for you to improve at Overwatch, you kind of have to force yourself into an unnatural mental state where learning something is not immediately it doesn't improve your life immediately right now, right? Even about like delayed reinforcement, right? Like think about it not just from an Overwatch standpoint, but like let's say you want to get your bachelor's degree, you will not see the rewards of that for years. So you have to tell yourself, shut up, do the work, trust me, it's going to pay off. And that is difficult and often unintuitive for a lot of people. It's just something you have to train.
You got to
So for you,
find the small wins till you get to the
exactly.
bigger win, right?
Exactly. So for you, the biggest thing you can't do is you can't ask for all or nothing from yourself. You can't
Okay.
expect yourself to be focused for every game, for every fight, for every game. You can't even ask yourself to be focused for 60, 70% of the time. If you could be
Mm.
focused and goal centric on half of the fights in like 2/3 of the games that you play on every day, that's good enough
Hmm.
for improvement. You got to look at like where am I at right now in terms of goal focus versus where do I want to go in terms of rank. You probably right now just need to be 10% better in terms of goal centric than you are right now.
Okay.
Which might mean I'm focused for the first few fights, or I play with a little bit more intention, or maybe I take breaks between games so I'm able to keep my energy up. I had a session about a year ago with an old dude, right, older than me, and he was like 50 years old, and he's like a
Hmm.
dad, and he works, goes home, comes home, plays a couple of games, and he's gassed, And we talked
Right.
about something called like the 2-fight rule, which for him was like, if you could just stay focused on whatever your goal is for the first 2 fights of every game, that's probably already better than what you're doing. Now, I have higher expectations from you, right? I think I would like to make that a
Yeah.
4-fight or a 5-fight rule, but
Yeah. Yeah.
legitimately,
Yeah.
that's good enough. Like that's probably already better than what you're doing right now.
Okay. Sure. Sounds good.
So we want to be focused for as many fights and as many games as possible, expecting ourselves not to be perfectly focused. And then we want to be specific about what we're being focused about. What are we being focused on?
Do you
And
think
then,
it's harder to be focused when you're alone versus with people? Because I've noticed that like when I'm playing with my friends and we're like calming and it's all great, and then I'm pretty focused, and then when I solo queue, no one's in voice chat, barely anyone's talking. I'm just kind of here with my thoughts, and then I
okay,
find it.
okay. So you just nailed the big difference between performance and practice. Both need pressure, but they apply pressure in different directions. When you're playing with your friends, are you practicing or are you winning?
I mean, it depends like who I'm playing with. Like
Sure.
sometimes there's like people in the friend group who are known to be a little bit more trolly, but generally the idea is that we're practicing and we want to like get better to achieve the win.
Sure. But what are you practicing? When you say that you're hard calling and hard locked in, what are you locked in on?
Teamwork, I guess.
You kind of
It's
get what I'm
never.
saying? Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the difference right there. You are playing to win. You're not playing to practice. Now you're like,
Right.
well,
I
I'm
see.
but you're playing my best. I'm trying to play my best, right? And to be honest with you, if you play like that, you will get better, but it won't necessarily strengthen the weak points of your game. You have to look at
Mm,
playing with friends as like, if you ever played sports as a kid,
yeah, yeah.
okay, what sport did you play or sports did you play?
Well, it's a little bit odd, but it was gymnastics.
Okay. So when you were at a gymnastic meet, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
It's not time to practice. You're locked
Right,
in. You're
right.
locked
Yeah.
in, right? You're locked in. Maybe even when you were drilling your routine, it depends on what you were doing, obviously, in gymnastics. I used to coach gymnastics a long time ago, by the way.
Oh, really? Whoa.
Long time ago. You're locked in. Your job is to do the best that you possibly can, right?
Yeah, yeah.
However, if you're drilling your forms on the tumbles or the parallel bars or whatever else, it's a
Whatever
drill.
event.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Whatever event that you're in, it's the drill, whatever, the rings, whatever.
yeah.
So that's the difference between playing with your friends most of the time or playing as an individual. When I'm playing as an individual, I'm generally allowed to focus on the specific aspects of my game and treat it like a drill. When I'm
Okay.
focused on playing with my friends and I'm hard locked in, it's more of a competitive scrimmage, a performance, where I'm trying to apply
Mm,
all the things that I've drilled into the best possible thing that I can. And I think a mixture of both is really good. For solo queue players that don't play with friends, that don't have that external social pressure of I need to do my job, right? I like to have like 20 to 30% of ranked games played just to win, and about 60
okay.
to 70% just playing to drill specific skills. I think having some games to where you could just focus on winning, I think it's good. I really think it's good. I think it
So
allows you to
one of
just
them is like a showcase, and one of them is like practicing, I
yes, it's
guess.
basically
Okay.
the way I think about it is like develop specific aspects, put it all together. Develop
Right.
specific aspects, put it all together. Develop specific, and so on. So you spend most of your time drilling, but you actually have to apply it at some point, right?
Okay.
So what that would look like is like, okay, today I'm going to just practice. Okay, so I'm going to practice my angles for a couple of games. I'm going to practice my pulse bomb, like taking a deep breath before I pulse bomb, right? I'm going to practice my blinks and duels, and those are the 3 skills I'm going to practice today. I'm going to mix it up however I want. I could do a couple of games at that, a couple of games at that, alternate. It doesn't really matter, but one thing per game, essentially, okay? All day long.
Right.
Tomorrow, I'm going to warm up with a couple of games where I'm just focused on my trigger discipline, and then for the rest of 2 or 3 hours, I'm just winning. I'm winning. I'm going to win, okay?
Okay.
The day after, we go back and we drill, right? And you can mix it up however you'd like, but that's a good way of practicing right there. That's a really good way of practicing.
Okay. I think maybe I'm doing the opposite or combining the two where I'm like, I need to practice this and then expect myself to like win. But that's
exactly.
Not really
it's a huge distraction because what ends up happening is it takes your attention away from what you need to be practicing because all of a sudden you're like, I gotta win, I gotta do what I gotta, and that's gonna be a distraction. So you need to allow yourself to drill and then apply. Allow yourself to drill and apply. And what's going to happen is you're going to win a lot of your drill games, right? Like when you're drilling, you're not playing badly. Like when you focus on your blinks, your angle usage is probably not going to be trash. It's just not going to be that good. That's okay.
Right.
Like what we're trying to do is we're trying to train those unconscious skills or those conscious skills to be unconscious, right? You practice something over and 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 over again until you could do it without even thinking, right? And that's what the drills are needed. And the problem is that most people practice only like a scrim, or they don't even practice at all, so which doesn't allow them to work on those individual aspects of their game, right? Imagine if all you did in gymnastics was did a routine, right? And nobody ever sat and taught you how to do a back tuck. Nobody ever sat and taught you how to do a front handspring or a pullover or anything else. Like you just had to do it, right? It would just be you would get better because you just eventually you slam yourself into it. But it would be the most inefficient, sloppy, and you probably have bad habits that would never ever go away.
Oh, the form would be terrible.
Right. So you need to give yourself the opportunity to do that and spend most of your time in doing that. But I think it's not only fun but also healthy to allow yourself to actually compete. Just play. Now, the reason why I say with friends is because I think friends are distractions, not in a bad way necessarily,
100%.
but there's a lot of pressure, right? I got to perform. I don't want to troll the game for these guys, right? And so you can allow yourself to just focus on the team play and focus on the winning easier with friends.
Right.
Whereas if I'm trying to develop the specific aspects, oftentimes when I shot call, I just end up distracting myself. I just screw up. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions?
No, I probably will have a lot as we go through the video. I like just asking questions about really dumb things.
Okay. Let's keep going here. I'm gonna get this pulled up in just a second here.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking here. If we do this code here, is this the high ground one?
Yeah, this is Havana.
The interesting thing to think about high ground, it's just a bit of an awkward tracer map, is if you think about angles in a 3-dimensional space, I'm going to get a little kooky with you, crazy professor with me. But think about it this way, okay? When you have high ground, let's go to a little bit more relevant point on second point, okay? Yeah. Tracer controls angles. We usually mean lateral angles.
Okay.
But we could also talk about vertical angles. So that would be here. So if there are people on high ground, you don't have to be with your team on high ground. You can control a north-south angle, an angle up and down.
Wouldn't it be really easy just for someone to like look down and shit on you?
It is, but it depends on the location of the north-south. When you're here, the answer is no, not usually. If the card is deep, you could threaten a Charlie Niner, right? A C9.
Right.
The answer is no, right? When we're talking about third point, right? When we're talking about maybe pushing up the card here and your team's here and you're the one on card, the answer is no. So the answer is often yes, and this is a pretty awkward map, but I want you to think about Gibraltar. I want you to think about Dorado. You understand?
Like new map or old map Dorado?
Either one, frankly.
Okay.
Either one. Like you have the ability to basically solo play cart without your team's assistance. Now, that may not always be something that your team lets you capitalize because they just might all stack on cart, in which case, okay, just go high ground or take an off angle in there. But basically, the verticality does provide you with a hurdle, but also with an opportunity because it gives you a north-south angle that you can play separate from your team. For pro level for years, Tracer was almost a must pick on Gibraltar just for the cart pressure, because it's so easy
Okay,
to just
right.
put your Tracer there and not really worry about it and know the really character can kind of fill that role. So
Right.
yeah, these are not the great Tracer maps. They're not bad Tracer maps, but they're not great Tracer maps. That's just the case. But there is that tiny bit of upside if you can find a way to leverage it.
So then I guess like kind of the end goal question is like I have like last season I had like 56 hours alone just on Tracer. The question is, should I be swapping more often, or should I, and if I swap, like my hero pool I would say is like more on like the flanker
Yes.
short range off angles than playing fucking
Yeah.
frontlining hit scan.
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
boring. But
Yeah.
so but like frontlining hit scan gets like results. So the
Yeah.
question is, for these like weirder maps, should I just be picking a different character, or should I
Okay.
stick with Tracer?
So we talked about like the weakness here is that there's a little bit of verticality and a lot of range. That's why Tracer is struggling on this, okay?
Yeah,
So if
yeah.
you go at your hero pool right now, Reaper, Venture, I don't think either of those characters solves any of these maps.
Okay.
I think Venture can do okay. Reaper
Yeah.
situationally also okay, because they do have a little bit of that verticality that on a Dorado than a Gibraltar can be useful. But frankly, I think Tracer just does just as well. Okay, so there's no real upside here. So unless you want to, my answer is no.
Okay.
I would swap if you decided one day that you're going to play Ash, or you decided one day that Hanzo's good, I'm going to play with Hanzo, or if your brain got you fell and you knocked your brain, had a severe concussion, you decide you want to play Widowmaker.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? So like basically if you have a character that fills those parameters, then the answer is yes, you should swap. But I think with your hero pool right now, you don't really gain a lot from swapping on the maps that you're struggling with Tracer. So if you are going to play Reaper Venture, I don't know that on Havana it's necessarily going to feel any better.
Okay. Sure.
It could, but I don't see that. Genji, Hanzo, Widow, Ashe, like I think all those characters could situationally be better in these pain points because they have verticality or range. But right here, honestly, just swap if you want to, not because you feel like you need to.
Okay. Got it.
All right, let's take a look here. Good question, by the way.
Oh, at one point when I'm here, my girlfriend comes into the room
fine.
and talks to me. So if I just
fine.
like look like I'm doing nothing, that's why.
That's fine. Life hack: cut off all relationships with friends and family
Yeah.
instantly. I mean, this is fine. That's just a whole lot of nothing until they kind of walk into your crosshair here, and
Yeah.
we're just gonna shoot. Now we're also at the point in time, like at your level of play, and I'm sure doing the research that you have, that like I'm gonna have certain expectations out of your play, and so I'm not gonna baby
Right.
you. I'm gonna ask some questions, assuming you
fine.
don't know the answers necessarily. But
Sure.
like this is
Sounds good.
we're not bronze here, so shoot. Yeah, I love the angle here. It's not like there's really a lot of choices here. But yeah, I mean,
No.
but this is pretty much it. And I also like this. You could deepen here. You got recall. You see them kind of backing off. This is just where Tracer's rough, right? Because it's like, I don't really know where I could deepen from here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I don't have any complaints. This has been fine.
Great.
No complaints. I always joke, if I'm moving at 2 times speed, it's good. It means that you're doing something right. I mean, you're getting good value here. Like, this is, no matter what you're shooting here, this is good.
Okay.
In fact, I actually think that this here, now you were hesitating, I think about, maybe you're thinking somebody would take that high ground away, but like, I think you could just keep shooting, right? I think you can just
Right,
keep
right.
shooting. The only time I'd second guess this is if you had pulse bomb, because that encourages more of a high risk, high reward play. So then you could start to consider approaching from here, or maybe doing the wraparound again here, right? But
it.
from here, just keep shooting. And see, what you're doing is you're controlling a lot of space. Like basically, like if you're this Hanzo or you're this Cassidy, where do you really want to go? Like, okay, they're in Soldier now, but like, where do you want to space yourself out? Like, if I'm coaching this, what are you thinking?
Like if you were coaching the cast.
Yeah, they're the Ana. Do you think they're happy with the angles that they have here, the map control that they have?
No, it would be much nicer to just sit main and not give a shit of anyone shooting you.
Right. And even beyond that, like long term, they do need to swing out here and maybe you can contest high ground. So
Right,
that's basically what you're preventing. You're hurting the cats is essentially what you're doing here. And even this is like, the reason that this feels so bad for you is because they used the freaking ultimate, right? Like they used an ultimate,
Yeah,
so he's
yeah, the
coming in with
tree.
overhealth. And to give you credit, I think you play it really well. Shoot a little bit, blink out, anticipate hinder, a little bit of pre-fire, blink through, good blink back around, recall out, and he's dead.
I missed the punch. Oops.
I mean, it's fine, but this like you moved quite well. This is good.
Right.
You're down recall, so kind of chill. I think you just kind of got lost in the sauce with where people were.
Yeah,
Good.
I thought somebody was above me.
Yeah, this is good. And I really like this too. Not just the hitting the pulse bomb, but you don't just think about the pulse bomb. Look what else you do. Next angle. You see it?
Oh yeah, going in so
So
that no one can shoot me.
this is irrelevant, right? Like there's really outside of soldier, there's nothing relevant that you can shoot here. So you deepen your angle and pulse bomb. So now you're actually once again in a really strong spot. So not that I'm patting you on the back here, but I mean so far this has been really quite good. So I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. Okay. Yep. You're gonna need to rotate deeper left. Yep, keep rotating, keep rotating, keep rotating, keep rotating. Yeah, so this is where my nitpick's gonna come into play. You need to rotate back. You need to rotate back. You need to get back to here again because this is your angle. This is not your angle. This is too far and too shallow, right? If you were like able to hold here or get close to here with cover, this would be okay, but you can't, so you need to rotate here. Make sense? I might have lost you. Are you still there? I don't hear you.
Three of them. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah. There's an audio bug in mine. Okay.
Okay.
I missed what you said. Does this make sense?
I was saying, oh, okay, I almost have full. I was saying, like, how many blinks do I have? Because I think I was worried, like, oh, there's 3 people, maybe a fourth that I don't see. Like, they could just run at me if I go over there.
I think you're fine. And I actually don't hate this too much either. Like, you're just shallowing your angle, but this is okay. Yeah, this is fine. Again, right back to the angle. Honest spooked. This is just an awkward drop, right? So, right from here, instead of thinking about the target, remember the priority is always position first, then target. So for you, the first thing you need to do is get on this pillar first. You get to the pillar, then you worry about the honor. Like, I wouldn't even bother shooting right now. It's not enough damage.
Okay.
So drop to the position, and then from here, you would have the information that you need. Go ahead.
Even if, like, the on is distracted? Like,
doesn't matter. The threat is distraction.
Okay.
Right? Now, technically, could the Ana turn? Yeah. But you're also giving away information by shooting here as well.
Okay.
Think about it from a Reaper perspective. You wouldn't shoot here. Why? You want the element of surprise. You want the fact that you're going to give up a little bit of distraction value to significantly increase your kill value, which then increases your distraction value, right? So for me here, the first things first is where do I need to be, and then I'll shoot from there. So that might mean I lose a half a second of uptime here, half a second of distraction, but at what expense, right? Because this is exactly why you don't do this, because you're thinking Ana, you're not thinking positioning. And so you actually get jumped yourself. That's the problem.
Right.
You weren't listening, you weren't looking, you weren't thinking, you were just shooting, and now you're screwed. So if you want to talk about uptime, this is the uptime that matters. And where are you?
Right.
Right.
This surprises me. I was like, why is a Cass up here?
I mean, it's a good play. It's just a good play. Yeah, my problems have been, were much sooner in this VOD. So for me, it's more about like the mid-fight priority on continuing to find your next spot. Because that's what you carried with on the previous fight, or the fight before, which was the stick on the Life Weaver and continuing your rotation, right? That was beautiful, not just mechanically, but from a strategical standpoint. You let it slip, you lose the fight. That's simple.
Got it.
This is fine. Again, you've been pretty consistently checking the box for first fight setup, so I think I'm okay with that. But the question is where do you go from here? This is fine. I could argue as well that I wouldn't even chase Soldier. I'd just sit here. This is too free low. You know what I'm saying? Like, this angle is so freaking good. So it's like if you don't get the Soldier, so your angle quality is diminished significantly.
Yeah, I thought that someone was going to come from up above here and drop on me, so I was like, oh, I can get the drop on them if I stay quiet, but... Yeah,
sure, but, like, at what cost, right? Like, the cost comes here. If you're going to chase this guy, commit. You need the kill, because otherwise, like, man, like, I mean, think about what you could do from here, right? Think about all you could do. Think about this with Pulse Bomb especially. So you just you lost your angle to chase and then didn't even really commit on the kill. So it's just like, well, what was the point of that? Nice pulse. And again, here I am thankful that at least you're going back, right? It's like the light.
Yeah.
Go fix your positioning and go shoot from here. Yeah, this is good. I would say just as a general rule, if you're seeing this at this distance, it's probably not worth your time. Okay. So from here, what should you do instead?
Well, I could, like, either go from behind where the window is, or I guess, like, go to the staircase.
Yeah. I think just behind is probably your best bet. Drop here, go harass, tickle from here. I mean, it's like, but I lose. It doesn't matter. You're not doing anything here anyway. This angle becomes more relevant as they walk out, but I would just recommend going for the higher risk play here at this point. Because the reason being, this is too far. Make sense?
Right. Yeah.
It's too far. The range is off. The range is off. That's why. Kind of similar. Honestly, you know what it is? It reminds me of that Ana tickle example, right? Slightly different circumstances with your CDs, but the same kind of thing. Don't even bother shooting.
Okay.
This is fine. See now. I mean, obviously you're getting smoked mechanically, but like this is where at least you're doing something, right? Like at least you're providing value. You just got outplayed mechanically, right? So it's at least a 1-for-1. Maybe you kind of got a little on a distraction value as well. I don't know how hard it is to strafe on console, like 80-80 strafe.
A little hard, like it's not great.
Yeah, I figured because it's
Am
like
I just like swinging at angles like too.
No, I mean I'm looking at just like you're eating every whip shot, right? So like here, for example, you know, she has whip, and it feels very hard to react to that.
Yeah.
So maybe my critique would be more on your movement here. So like if we look at how you move versus this character, right? So let's look at your strafe pattern here, right? Notice that you're either strafing really tightly, right? Exactly. Yeah. So it's just a good rule with any projectile. Longer strafes better. You still want to be unpredictable. You don't want to be like tick tock, tick tock. You want to be like you know like this. But But it's like there's no real point in doing these tight strafes when the hitbox of your foil is the entire hitbox of your strafe, right? So it's like just a good general rule. And by the way, that's something that you can deliberately practice. Read who you're playing, adjust your strafe pattern. Soldier, longer strafes. Cassidy, tight strafes. Ana, longer strafes. Looking at your own comp, Orisa, probably longer strafes. Ashe, short, tight strafes. Just a good general rule, and that's something you can deliberately practice. Like you can literally the entire game focus on your movement, not even your blinks, just your movement.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
Remember, it's one of those drill concepts, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think this is okay. I think you could have rotated back up top here, but this is also very clearly going to be a short angle as they walk forward, and if they contest you, so this is fine. So I don't hate this. I think this is okay. But this is one of those things where the rule of deepen when possible instead of shallow applies. So you are down resources, which means that you really can't contest this soldier if he comes after you. So if you do have to rotate away, where do you rotate towards?
If we have the goal of like deepening, then it would just go back to where the mega is on the left.
So you deepen here. Now, why is this better? Usually. Not always, but usually.
I could give you a bunch of reasons.
Give me the most important reason. And use this ending position example why deepening usually better.
Because I kind of have control over the rest of like the map behind them, and it's like a good flank.
Whereas where are you right now? You see what I'm saying?
Right, on like in front of them, and
basically like you've lost an angle entirely. So if you shallow the angle, you're more likely to get shoved out completely. Now, in theory, you should have rotated across high ground here and still maintained an angle. Okay, to be honest with you, that's 100% the play. Okay, I know you went to commit on the Rhine. I don't blame you. I understand, but this is just where your value is going to be so much lower. However, you can go back and hindsight this and go, okay, with or without the Rhine, if I rotate here, I could then continually apply pressure here, and this is probably more impactful in terms of raw output. You kind of get what I'm saying?
So back at that like angle with the door, if I'm like moving back a bit more, I'd kind of be like from where they're positioned. If I started shooting them, I would kind of be a little too far. And like previously, you were saying like, oh, don't shoot. Like really far at an Ana. But my goal, if I was shooting from there, would be to turn their heads, and that's what I wanted to do with the Ana. But you were saying in that situation, don't. In this situation, do.
This situation, you are close. You are close range.
Okay.
I think you're misreading the range here. It's not like mega close, but this is. I mean, this is literally, if you think about it in the practice range spots, this is your effective range right here.
Right. Okay.
Maybe a tiny bit closer, right, so that you can blink through them. But your gun operates at full capacity at this range. Cassidy, a little bit of fall off, right, but still decent enough damage. Brigitte, I would agree, too far, right? Cassidy's pushing it. Soldier, 100% good. And if you really need to, you could also, as you get your recall back right here, as you get your blinks back, if you really, really, really weren't happy about the output that you were getting, you could then utilize the boiler controls and apply pressure from here and it'll rotate through here. And if you really, really, really want to shallow your angle to get closer, then you needed to use boardwalk here. The problem essentially is that by kiting towards your team, you've now lost complete map control.
Right.
And so for you, there's no real easy path outside of just mechanically outplay, which to be fair, you did. So congratulations on that. And to give you also credit, I think you're going to deepen. Yeah, see, you're going to wrap. This is good.
Yeah.
So this is making gold out of mincemeat here. But I think like you could have made your life a bit easier.
Okay, got it.
So you're noticing that we're not really teaching anything new here. It's, hey, you're outside of your effective range, setup. Hey, when you're rotating, make sure that you're able to keep the angle whenever possible, right? It's talking a little bit about strafe patterns versus projectiles, but even then, I didn't have to teach you that. I asked you, and you knew the right answer, right?
Yeah.
So it's just highlighting the right things. This is good.
So at this point, it's like in my, I guess, career, if you want to call it that, it's not necessarily learning new things. It's more just like applying like micro.
It's a finding how I need to apply things and practicing applying things. Yes.
Okay, got it.
And or correcting maybe any bad habits that you might have, right?
Right.
But yeah, for the most part, it's just about finding ways to apply it. And that's not just being more disciplined and motivated. It's like, it's kind of what we talked about earlier. Like, what's the simplest way that we can phrase some of the things we're talking about? Like, just making sure that your angle is playing your effective range constantly, always, right?
Right.
Strafe patterns, projectile versus hit scan, right? Mid-fight rotations have been problematic for you.
I would 100% agree. I think
which
that's
is like
probably
your setup is good, and then you get lost in the sauce, and you either end up too far away or on a bad angle. And that's not a weakness of yours. That's just a problem of Overwatch, right?
Okay.
It's like everyone's got a plan until they get hit in the mouth, right? That's basically what Overwatch does. Anybody can set up. It's probably the most important thing you can do, and that's why you're masters, right? Like that's a really, really high value, right? But as stuff starts to go wrong, as they start to play around your setup, how do you respond, right? And that's where like it's not that you're bad. It's just that you're not good enough, right? You're just not good enough. That's
the difference between like GM or champ versus where I'm at. Okay.
Exactly. And clearly like that's a very common problem because it is a very hard thing to do. It's not like a weakness of yours. It's just something that's demanded to operate at this level. I would say this is just a little bit of awareness, you know?
So okay. I know what I was trying to do. I hear their soldier and I'm waiting for him to get to that staircase with my pulse bomb. Yeah. I am. And then I'm like lost and I'm like not thinking with their
just think pressure, right? Just think pressure. Like it bothers me so much that you didn't even turn to look to see if like Ryan or Queen or anybody or Brigitte, like you like maybe there's somebody like right here. Like don't think about pulse bomb. Think about pressure, right? Like think about like I can shoot from here and then Queen's here. Like honestly, if Queen's here, you could pulse the Queen, right?
Wait,
like,
did that cast roll to shoot me? Because that isn't. Oh, he saw me.
Yeah, he's just underneath. Okay. Yeah, he's just underneath. He
just runs.
This is that. To be fair, part of this is like classic console, where like turning your camera is just like twice as hard as it is with PC, right? So like your generally awareness is just always worse in console because of that.
Right.
But also like you're doing yourself no favors here. Like there's just like you needed to like the moment of the mistake is not it's not here when you die. The moment of the mistake is the fact that you rotate here, you see nothing, and you don't immediately look to your right. So look at how long it takes you to look to your right. That they're there, but you don't even properly peek. Like you actually back up as you peek, so you don't even see the Cassidy, even though he's right there. So it's like you just needed to be like, who can I shoot from my angle? So like going back to what we talked about earlier, it's the position first, then the angle. You actually did a pretty good job setting up your position, but then you just actually didn't even know who was here. Position, then target priority. But yeah, okay. Let's keep going. This fight's lost. I'm surprised you're even touching, to be honest with you. I think this is like a total waste of time. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's incredible from you that you're lived as long as you have. Like, I mean, the movement was good. If you are gonna commit, I guess you might as well commit the pulse bomb too. But like, I just think like that just is not a smart decision. Okay. And this is why. we'll give you a little bit of context instead of just beating you over the head with a hammer. As tempting that is. This is very clearly going to be a full-on 1v5.
Yeah.
1v4 at best, right? For an extended period of time, because not only do you have teammates in spawn, you have teammates that are not even out of spawn yet, right? Like they're still respawning, right? So like the best case scenario here is you get a pulse kill. This becomes a 3v1 that maybe turns into a 3v3 if you can live for 15 seconds. Maybe.
Right.
But it's just not going to happen. Like this is not a good calculated risk no matter what rank you are.
Okay.
Cut. This is fine.
This I kind of struggle on to know where to stay.
This is fine. I mean, this is the classic escort problem, right? You can count the number of good positions you can hold with your thumbs, right? And sometimes on your left thumb, right? There's only one good choice. What is this? Is this a sniper rifle? No, it's just it is a sniper rifle.
Oh, it is.
Oh, I've never seen that. Okay. I mean, this is it, right? They're
right.
In theory, there are going to be some comps where you can kind of like soft angle from here for sure. Especially like if your team's spawn camping, you can do all sorts of fun stuff on this side of the map. But this is it, right? Like especially considering you've got teammates in spawn, like we know where this fight's going to break out. I think you made the correct read here.
Later on you'll see it, but I try to deepen the angle on this angle and it doesn't really work out. And the question that I'll have as you're watching this is like, are there times where on maps you just stay here, or do you generally try to deepen even if it's bad?
Okay, so the question is has the fight committed now?
No.
It's close, though. Like, let me put it this way. I agree with you. I think this is a mistake. I think you should have waited. I think you should have let them push into your team. But I understand why you feel the need to deepen, because it does feel kind of like your team has started the fight.
Well, it's more the idea that, like, if I'm not showing presence and my team is where they are, they're going to try and take my building, because that's, like... And I'm probably going to lose that if enough of them take it.
So that's where you're wrong. That's where you're wrong. If the team takes the building, they're going to cross the line. They're going to cross where your Ana, Ashe, and Orisa can contribute. Yeah, maybe it's not optimal here, but we're talking about nades, dynamites, even your Orisa jamming choke. You're going to have options, and yeah, you're going to need to vacate the premises, but you're going to need to vacate the premises where you can still hover around this space and become a nuisance. Like, this is fine. If they clear the building, you're okay. They're still crossing in front of your team's face. Now, I don't mind this because your team did Bob, so I understand, like we're going to... we're trying to get value. And then you're going to deepen here. Okay, honestly, I think this is okay. Like, if you get to here and you die, it's skill issue.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just skill issue. You just got pincered by Cass.
Mm-hmm.
No, this is fine. This is fine.
Okay.
It's a garbage Bob by your Ashe. Like, it's horrifically placed. I don't know what she was planning.
I'm not even sure where it is. I'm not going to lie.
She just threw in a card. Yeah, she just threw in a card. Like, if this Bob had been like here, or here, I think you get a trade. I think you get a kill. But yeah, I think this is reasonable. You even got out. This is fine. This is just Havana. This is fine. That's dumb, right?
Yeah.
And you need to be ready to bail here in case they push, but this is fine. I think this is just a bad rotation from you. Okay, so this is again where mid-fight stuff, right? Where, like, how are you when you get punched in the face, right? You got punched in the face here. Now, I need 2 blinks from you right now, first off, right? I need 2 blinks from you, which is a bit of a shame, but that's okay. Or 3 blinks, rather, I guess now. All right? You're going to get pressured. Where should you disengage Rot be? This is important.
High ground, I guess?
High ground. You need to get out. You need to bail top. You need to put pressure from here. If you then fail, you need to, again, deepen the angle. Don't shallow, because what's going to happen is watch how your rotation when you get pressured. Look at it from the overhead perspective. Good pressure, by the way, right? 2 for 1. Casty falls back as well. You're honestly, you're killing the Juno ult push here by yourself.
Right.
But you see how this is not where you want to be?
No. I'm in the... Right. What is it? I've heard you talk about it
sandwich.
I'm in the clock, not
in the
around
clock.
the clock.
In the clock. You got it. Yep. In the clock, sandwich yourself. So, to be clear, you should die here. And to be clear, you will have gotten value for your death because your initial setup was really good, all things considered. That being said, this is not a situation where it's good enough for you to die with honor. You needed to live.
If I went like high ground or just like said fuck this and went like out the back, would you say that's like the difference between like me and Masters versus a version and me that's like in GM? If I'm like consistently doing stuff like that,
roll that dice 100 times and yes.
or because I took so much attention, like you said, it killed like the Juno push. Our team
Yes.
like just dies anyways to a
Yes.
2v4, whatever.
Yes.
But like I took that attention. Is that good enough, or do you still think that's like
It's
no?
not good
Like if
enough.
you
Not
not
good
good enough.
enough.
Okay.
Yeah, the thing is I don't want to compare you to like what I would expect a Grandmaster Tracer to play. I'm just going to point out your errors, and we're going to fix those, right?
Right.
For you, the reason why we keep bringing these more advanced rotational stuffs up is because obviously the expectations are a little bit higher, but it's happened frequently with you.
Yeah.
It's a frequent problem, right? You're failing the skill check on these mid-fight rotations when you get pushed on your angle consistently, right? You tend to panic, pincer yourself, shoot too far, or get surprised by DPS, right? This is not an easy decision, but we're not asking you to be an easy player. We're asking for Grand Master, right? A diamond player probably wouldn't have even been here, right? But that's why you're masters, right? So, but yeah, living here, would it have changed the result of this fight? I don't know, but it probably would have changed the result of what's about to happen now. Like if your Orisa dies, or your Ana dies, or you're unable to, like, let's say like right now, for example, this should be a 5v5, right? This should be a 5v5 now that like we go in and you're able to actually follow up. You got pulse bomb, you got Orisa, but you've lost space, right?
Okay.
So this goes from being a comfortable win to an uncomfortable, ooh, that could have gone really bad, right?
Right, okay.
And so you got to load your dice. Like you're only 10% of the lobby, but if you're consistently a 9 out of 10 instead of an 8 out of 10, you're going to win that extra percentage of games over the course of time, and then that's what's going to happen. So, okay. So
I find attack to be way more confusing than defense.
Well, there's a reason why that is. Think about it. What were you consistently doing well on defense? So what, like, just for you in general?
Setting up.
Your initial
For them to
starting angle. Right. Perfectly done. Love it. Beautiful. Loves and kisses. Defensive setups was really good. I actually think your blink movement overall is also quite good, especially for console. So keep leaning into that strength. Okay?
Okay.
Your strafing and/or movement and mechanics could obviously just improve, like anything else, right? Could always be better.
Yeah.
And specifically, the length and the choice of the strafing, I think, is something worth putting your time into.
Okay.
Your mid-fight rotations, okay, in terms
Not
of evaluating
great.
your range. Well, and right. So what we want to do is we want to break it into two spots. What angle should I kite to or push to when I get pushed out? And number two, am I playing my effective range? Okay.
Okay.
Defense, you got time to sit up. Attack, you don't. You're going to be contested, so let's see what you do. This rotation is almost always appropriate, in my opinion. Again, I think like Overwatch is not something you can download on most characters in most situations. But for Tracer on really bad maps, we talked about this, right? There's probably only going to be a handful of spots that you can play. So it's pretty much the same rollout every time. I've seen some Tracers try this rollout. I hate it most of the time. If they're holding really close, it can work, but it just generally doesn't feel all that good. So this is fine. Keep flanking, keep flanking. Now, you thought about staying and shooting, and I'm glad you didn't.
Well, because I was like, what's my ball doing? I was like, there's a Juno there, and I can see his outline.
Ignore your ball. Ignore your ball.
Oh,
what can you see and shoot from this position?
A bunch of things, but my immediate thought was Juno.
Right. Juno's the only thing, but you don't see her. The only things that you see are also bad. Why? We've been in this exact same situation on defense, right? Why
they're far away.
They're too far away, so right? So you keep rotating.
Yeah.
And then from here, you go, oh. See, this, you basically, you just spent 7 hours to get to here, you know? But now that we're here, now we're cooking, right? Now we can just do whatever we want, right? So, you know, it won't always be this hard. Sometimes you'll stop here and be like, oh, I could just shoot tank. Okay, then shoot tank, right? But if they're too far away, it's fine. And this is, again, a situation where I just think it's like the pincer, right? You're here. You have to look at this EDRE. Anybody on your angle is your number one target priority, whether it's tank, DPS, or support. Because if you look away from them, they kill you. Case in point. Okay. So whenever you take an angle, just like when you took the angle here and you saw a soldier, it becomes your number one priority, whoever that is. Right? Number one priority.
I think... I don't know. Maybe I didn't. I was gonna say I think I'm like waiting for my ball to engage, so I didn't look behind me because I want to help him with the damage. But
right, but the problem is you're exposing yourself. Well, you're exposing yourself. It's basically you've put yourself in a situation where you have to fight. It's too late. You've thrown yourself in. So you can't just close your eyes and be like, oh, they can't see me. No, they can see you. They can definitely see you. So you better be prepared to fight. I also think don't overthink the ball thing. If your ball is in the general vicinity of the enemy team, that's good enough.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think it's because I play with friends a lot, and
yeah,
it's like
yes, yeah,
when they're engaging, like I gotta engage with them, kind of
yeah, of
thing.
course,
I'm
but you
in their
are,
voice.
I mean,
Yeah.
look, right? Like this is good enough, right? Like he's kind of on the way out, but he's going to be right back in again a second later. Your team is
So
engaged.
I don't have to be like butt to
Yeah,
butt.
exactly. Because it's just
Okay.
not. It's very difficult to do that with ball.
Okay.
Because cycles come in and out so quickly. But yeah, this is fine. The setup was fine. The what you were looking at during that setup almost cost you your life is the big thing.
So it sounds like I'm like in theory everything's going great, and then when it like is no longer theory, I'm like kind of screwing up my positioning.
Yeah, I wouldn't read too much into it, right? It's not super
Okay.
philosophical. It's just like you took an angle, somebody was on the angle, and then you were distracted trying to help things out. So you just need to take the fight. That's it.
Okay.
Whatever you set up, anybody that's on that position is number one priority. I don't care if it's a roadhog. I don't care what it is. It's your priority.
Got it.
And this feels a little bit like the similar ball priority, where what are you compromising right now?
Good positioning, I guess.
Good positioning, right? It doesn't feel like that good of an angle. Like I know you're
No,
honest behind
no.
you, right? I know your
Yeah.
mercy and right, and they're right. So that what this is not a good angle. So I think the reason you compromise is because you wanted to go in with this guy, right?
I think that's part of it, but the other thing I'm thinking is like there's been many a times where I'm like realistically there's nowhere great for me to play where our card is, where our team is, and where their team is. And if I try and deepen the angle, then I'm too far from my team. And if they're just like, "Oh, we want Tracer dead now," like I might distract them, but there's a good chance they might kill me.
Yeah. You're overthinking it. This fight is about to happen. You need to be on the angle. You have time to set up, but you need to go now. Where do you want to go?
Well, I go left because I think that's like pretty. Yeah, like here.
Okay. So
That's
everything's too far.
It's far.
Everything's too far.
Um,
So keep going. So you're from here. Where do you go from here?
I guess I could like loop around to like the hallway that they're at. Like I keep deepening or go height, I guess. But
Yeah.
that's all. That's all gonna take forever, I guess.
But the problem is what's happening right now,
Not a lot.
right? Like even with your ball goes in, like it's just really your ball, right?
Right,
So
right.
it's the same thing as this here, where you're like, oh, I'm scared of not shooting the Ana. Like I have to. No, you're not in a resource or a position to do so. And the same thing is
Okay.
happening here, where it's the reason why your mid-fight rotations might feel bad is you're scared of mid-fight downtime.
Yes. 100%.
And the problem is that the value of your uptime here is just complete garbage.
Okay.
Think about like what are you really doing here? If you'd stayed here, what are you really doing here?
Looking at them. Like
I mean,
nothing,
if
really.
anything, you're actually more. If it's like it's almost a net neutral because you'll be taking just as much damage as you're doing, and so
Right.
you'll be demanding healing, and or you're not even distracting them, right? Like at least with the Ana, you would pull them their attention away. Here, it's not a distraction, so it's like you're scared of screwing things up, maybe in the mid fight,
Yes.
right? When it's reality, it's like you're not doing anything anyway, so you might as well invest your time, right?
Okay.
You have
Okay.
it's like when it's like you have like a kid in high school. It's like parents are always telling them like put your money in the bank, invest because you got no expenses, right? So take the time
Yeah.
now where you got no expenses to set up and prove your positioning. So you're like, oh, this will take too long. Yeah, but you're not doing anything right now. So let's look at when the fight actually breaks out. All right. So let's give us the seconds here. 11:04, I think is where I'm going to call it.
Okay.
Yeah. So 11:04. Okay. So 11:04, 11:04 until. You tell me when you think the fight's like properly starting.
I
Ignore the
guess
tracer.
now. I guess.
I mean, yeah, it kind of feels like now, right? Like at least they're
Yeah.
contesting. Like your Widow's shooting, your Honest shooting. Okay, so 10 seconds. What could you do with 10 seconds from car? Right?
A lot.
Like you could even blow a blink or two, right? Like blow a blink. Well, I mean, you do end up blowing a
Right.
blink, right? So I actually think you do end up setting up, but it's that hesitation, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And then from here, you're hesitating when you could just keep going. Keep going.
Okay.
And then now we take this fight here with 3 blinks and a recall.
Yeah.
You know, you're probably not going to kill this guy because you know what he's going to do. He's going to plunk you a little bit and he's going to roll this way, right? But then he abandons the angle. What does that open up for you?
The angle.
The angle, right? So then from here, you're like, oh, do I want to keep shooting from here? Do I want to go a little bit crazy and deep in here?
Right.
The answer is anything. It's up to you, right? It's up to you. You might have run into Tracer. Like if I'm coaching this Tracer, I'm losing my mind that she didn't even try to retake the side. So what happens is that
Right.
you run into each other and then it becomes a duel of the fates, right? And then you're doing
Okay.
community service by protecting your team's back door, right? The key thing here is like the mid-fight angle setup is 100% worth doing.
Okay.
100% worth doing, because if you're not doing any value from your current position, your uptime doesn't matter. It's brainless work. It's like staying up to 3 o'clock to cram for a test a week in advance when you just need to be sleeping so that you can actually remember what you learned that day, right? It's brainless work.
Okay.
This is brainless work right here. This is brainless work. You need to be fighting this guy, and you need to be fighting this guy from where?
Like where the mega or the mini is, I guess.
You got it. I mean, this immediately improves
Right.
your odds of winning this duel. Remember, it's not about distraction. It's about kill, and kills create distractions. If you're playing within killing range and this caster gets pocketed, okay, it's not about kill.
Yeah.
But the
Okay.
but the threat of the kill is what forced the pocket. You kind of get what I'm saying?
So you're saying, like, because kind of how I play is like distraction until there's something that I can capitalize on. You're
Yes.
saying like less distraction, more just go duel.
It's distraction, but just set up in a way to where the distraction is actually lethal, right?
Okay.
So if
right.
you're here and the Sigma Cassidy show up on you, yeah, you're not playing for a kill anymore. But the fact that you were here is what forced the Sigma to come. Right?
Even if that means that like my APM action per moment or
Doesn't
something,
matter.
it
matter.
doesn't matter.
Okay. This is a classic thing in a lot of RDS games. I follow a lot of Age of Empires too, and there's like a lot of like mid low elo players that are obsessed with APM, and there's a
Right.
couple of like really high level pros that are actually pretty low APM because they're really good with strategic decisions. And if you watch like really high level high APM players, the APM that they're doing, 95% of them are like, there's value there. Like there's actually something that they're doing that's worth doing. Right now, the APM you're getting now is worthless. Not
Nothing.
totally worthless, but it's
Sure.
it's not worth full enough. So for here, I like the fact that you're on an angle distracting Cassidy. I just don't like the range.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
to tie
Deepen it.
all this philosophy into a tidy package, to simplify it, I'm not asking you to do play Tracer in a completely different way. No. All I'm asking for you to do is ask yourself, am I actually doing anything on this angle? Am I playing my range? And if the answer is no, then it's bad. It's just bad. Like it's 99.9% of the time, if you're not at your effective range, whether that's here, whether that's here, or whether that's here, then you're not doing anything. I don't care what you shoot. I don't care where you shoot, as long as it's an angle. If we had like, let's say we had a structure like here, like let's say this entire wall was out, we had like a little block, and you were just sitting here shooting Sigma. I'm okay with that. It's your effective range. I don't care what you shoot. You might have really high uptime some maps. You might have really low uptime some maps. I don't care. But you need effective value. And if you're not getting effective value, chasing uptime for the sake of uptime is going to screw you over.
Okay, got it.
And I think the problem, the reason why you're struggling with attack is you don't trust yourself to rotate and to take the positions. And so what ends up happening is that like you get poked out, you grab a health pack.
I think I'm just worried I'm gonna get shit on, so I don't
well,
like.
Well,
take
that's the
it.
thing. That's the thing is if I'm the Cassidy, I'm blessing your parents because they raised a kid stupid enough to contest a Cassidy at this range, right? Because you're like looking at this as like, at least I won't die. Yeah, but you have zero chance of getting a kill. Do you prefer medium risk, zero reward? Or do you prefer high risk, high reward, right? It's just simple mathematics, right?
Well, okay. Well, while we're saying this and while I 100% agree, I just remembered on my attack when you were like, oh, you needed to rotate and live, and it was on third. Well, I did do the high risk, high reward, and nothing happened. What's the difference between
on third point here? Like what happened with you here? Like as in
yeah. When I got like pinched, because in that sense, like I was being aggressive and I was doing high risk, high reward, but you were like, you needed to live.
You need to stop reading the kill feed. You need to stop reading the kill feed because think about it. What did you actually accomplish from this angle? So you lived a long time. You should have lived entirely, but you lived a long time distracting 3 people. How did that affect the team fight? Do you remember?
It just had kind of the Juno ult not work, but it did work.
In what way did it work? Who died?
Well, like I died.
Well, you died, right? Right?
Yeah.
You died. But who didn't die? Let me actually go back and let me give you an example.
They're like anyone on the
check
team.
this out.
No one
I want
died.
you to watch this. So this is the moment right here.
I think my Ashe died, but at some point.
If you're not where you are, she's dead.
Okay.
Like, she is dead. I want you to watch this. Look at how low that she gets. And this is without any DPS follow-up. And not only that, But you tell me that they would not have clean wiped this. Like, they would have clean wiped this.
Okay.
Look at where their DPS are.
Yeah.
And look at where the fight is. In fact,
Well,
the only reason that you...
They're only there because I was there.
That's it. That's exactly what I'm saying, right?
Oh,
that's exactly,
right.
You went for you took a good angle, right? Like the only option that you had, really. And yeah, you died for it, but at least you inconvenienced them enough so that your team actually could get the res off. Your Rissa lives, and you actually even get time. You actually get back in time to contribute a little bit, right? Like, it's the only reason this fight is even close to winnable is your efforts.
Okay, but that was because I was aggressive.
And because you were aggressive.
Where we're on attack, where I was like fighting, trying to live at like a bad range.
And you got to think about like let's say you were a stupid player. Like let's say that you made the same goofy mistake that you made here. Like let's say that you were like, I don't know, like tickling here or something like that, right? Like just not like, I don't think you would, but like let's say they were. You wouldn't do anything worth doing. You get shot once by cast, blink out this way, and just let them run over your entire team for free. My point being is it's not about choosing high risk, high reward or anything like that. It's the fact that the only time where the reward for the risk ratio is relevant, that's a lot of R's, is when you're playing, you're effective, you're ready for another one, range.
Yeah, the RRRR.
That's right. Okay. If you're not playing your effective range, your reward for your risk will never be good. Never. It doesn't matter if you're shooting tank, DPS, or supports. You need to play your effective range. This is not worth the reward for the risk. It's not because the thing that there are worlds where you die there, right?
Oh,
but there is not a world where you get anything close to a kill. So what's the point?
Okay.
See, this is fine. Like this is like we're actually playing the video game here. Why? Because we're closer than 20 meters for once, right?
Right.
Again, here, this is fine.
Her movement was good there.
Yeah, it was fine. And then here, this is not good, so we need to close the distance. Is it risky? Yes. Do you have an angle? No. Is it crazy mid-fight? Yes. But you know what it's worth? We have to. There's no other way to win this.
Oh, that bothered me. I tried blinking over it, and I got stopped on that car.
I mean, look at the situation. It doesn't matter.
Oh, it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So I actually like what you did the mid-fight, but my goodness, were you MIA for the first 10 seconds of that fight, right?
Right. Okay.
Rotate, and then you got a choice here. So now that they're here, you can kind of cheat the system and play around here, right? Or you can go clear top. This is where you have choices, right? You're like, well, I don't want the cast to shoot me in the back. Yeah, fair point. And I don't really like this close angle. This doesn't feel close enough, right? That's also a fair point too. So, you kind of have to make a choice here.
Yeah.
There is risk inherent to Overwatch. So you have to be willing to take risks. This is good. This is really good. This is fine. This is great. Yes. This is excellent, right? Now, you would never expect them to 2v1 you here, but...
No, I don't even know where that tracer came from.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're playing short effective range, so even if you were to, like, eventually die here if they, like, threw everything at you, your team's going to get value. Pulse bomb.
So even if I die, because there is the potential of me playing to my advantages, that's better than just the idea of me as a character being alive.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly.
That might be the biggest problem.
There's value from your existence. If you had died, like, realistically, right here, I would have been okay with that. Because think about what you did, okay? Your angle forced a response, okay? So Cassidy's out. It means that he doesn't have to worry about it for your Wrecking Ball. So Cassidy's out of the angle. Now, this is an angle that you should feel comfortable winning the 1v1 versus Cassidy about 75% of the time. Even in Grandmaster, even in top 500. He's walking into you. You have Pulse Bomb, you have Recall, you have Triple Blinks. It's just a skill check, right? As well. It's a skill check, right? You got sights as well. So, Tracer, I don't know why she does that.
How did she? I didn't even see her. I don't even know where she comes from.
She saw you. So she goes all the way in. Okay. But because she's walking into a small choke with you, she recalls, and now watch this. So there's that. But even if she doesn't die, she's now in a position to where she can't do anything. She doesn't have recall. She's used blinks. She's in the middle of the cart. So the best thing she could do is blink out here and maybe shoot Wrecking Ball from a really crappy angle. So
she has a very ironic name.
Yes, exactly. So she's actually you've taken her out of the fight. You've taken Cassidy out of the fight. And then in theory here, the Cassidy is probably going to demand support. So there's a world here where this Juno and Brigitte are maybe a little bit more heads up. I mean, I think the Infraset's kind of gimping them, but then you could potentially even get support attention here too. And the best part about it is not just the fact that you won the duel, but because you actually set up well, think about how this fight evolves for you. It just keeps getting better. Because good positions lead to good positions, which lead to good positions, right? From here, you don't even have your recall, but you're confident enough to, I can rotate to here, and I'm going to be just fine. And I agree with you. You see it? Look at that. Compressed Juno. And honestly, Juno's lucky that she didn't die to this because you made her move. You see this? You see that?
Yeah.
You made her move. Yeah. There's nowhere safe for her to go. And the only difference is you set up on an angle where you actually played your effective range. That's it.
Okay.
It's not always going to go smoothly, but if the answer is I messed up my movement and I died on a good angle, I can live with that.
Okay.
And this is just chasing staggers.
And you're probably can't do it.
Yeah, I agree. Well, you've used your recall, so this is a bit cheeky, but I get it. She was one. Okay, so setup. Effective range with where the enemy team is going to go. Where do you go? You got options, right? You've committed to the flank, but like, let's say you didn't have time to commit to the flank. Where else could you go?
I guess where my ball is, but that feels very like front facing.
I agree. This isn't an angle.
I don't think there's like a lot of great places other than me just taking the flank on the left and looping all the way around.
You can. I think this is also a location where you can hover around too. Same thing you're doing in defense, right?
It's just no one's here yet.
But they will be. They will be.
Yeah.
That's You have to have a bit. You have to have a bit of foresight in the same way that you set up here. Remember?
Yeah.
Before they were there, you got to expect where this fight's gonna happen. Now, to be very clear, I like what you're doing.
Okay.
I think this is good. I think wherever the fight's gonna, what I'm doing is I'm forcing you to come up with another solution.
Right. Okay.
Because you won't always have because you can't go. Oh, I have to flank, otherwise I can't do anything. Well, then you're gonna lose. Like you gotta have to find an option here, right? Like so, what this might let's let this fight play out a little bit, okay? So balls setting up, balls engaging. There it is. You see what you could do? You said maybe go left. Well, turns out somebody came left. There you go. If nobody's on left, you just deepen your flank. If you go right, there's nobody right, then you could sit in this door and peek out the break, right? It's not optimal, but it's something.
Okay.
This is fine. Is there risk? This is fine. If you're going to climb the Grandmaster, you have to be able to handle this, right?
Right.
This is short range, full resources, on an angle, at the right time. This fight is kind of starting, right? So, like, he will get resources here, but I mean, you should be comfortable taking this. Okay, let me put it this way. You should not be comfortable, but you should expect it. And this is good. You hear Tracer, you hear Cassidy, so you're like, oh, well, bye.
Yeah.
But do you lose an angle entirely? No. You're still here.
No.
You're still close, right? This is good.
Okay.
Look at the amount of tension. Look at how free your ball just goes flying in. And then now, you're ready to go.
Right.
Honestly, here, this is a double blink pulse bomb recall play right here. I can smell it. One. You should double blink. You should double blink, but it's all right. That's hard to do.
To like go behind him?
Yeah.
I don't know. I have high sensitivity, but like
So then that's where you're gonna know better than me, frankly. You're gonna know better than me. On a PC player, I'd say yes, because you don't want to peep yourself sandwich, even if for just a second. If you blink through, in addition, it's also harder for them to move, because while they're turning, they're not strafing, so easier to pulse.
Right.
But it is, can you do that? And I don't know. Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you and say that's easy. That being said, nice job. And the best part about it is because you didn't double blink, you didn't have to recall.
True.
So
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, this is what I wanted you to do.
That's when I do it.
That's it. Shoot, this is just playing around whip shot. It's not easy.
Yeah,
right? It's not easy. There's not even a lot of room for you to strafe in. But I'm not gonna lie with you, mate. This is sexy Tracer gameplay right here. This is so good. Your movement, your angles, your rotations, your setup, the whole 9 yards. It's just like night and day with not the previous fight, the fight before that. So
okay.
This is fine. This is okay.
So I'm shooting Juno. She uses her ult. I'm just gonna keep doing it. Should I have just been like, I'm gonna shoot somebody else because it's impossible to kill Juno?
What's the rule? When you're on an angle, who do you shoot?
Who's in front of you?
Who's on the angle, right? So Juno technically
Yeah.
is not bad here, but there's somebody contesting you right now and you're ignoring them. That's the mistake.
Okay, got it.
So I think you kind of forgot Brigitte, and that was the
Yeah.
mistake. So the mistake is here. Actually, it's not even Juno. It's Tracer too. Like you needed to be looking at
Yeah.
Tracer or Brig here. I don't think that changes the result here, crucially because I don't know what happened to your. I mean, you guys don't really have a lot of good nano targets. You guys kind of fumbled your old economy, and frankly, your Widow's been like smoking a doobie this entire game and hasn't really hit a ton of shots here. So like that's just how it
Right.
has to be. Like it's gonna happen.
Okay.
But yeah, you need to duel the person on your angle, basically. That being said, setup, movement,
Right.
perfect. Really, really
Okay.
nice. Really nice. No critiques. Let's watch one more fight. Okay, you're gonna set up left.
Maybe
Nice.
we go third, because third is also like kind of
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
annoying.
Well, okay. Let's do this. Let's speed run it. Let's speed run.
Oh yeah, sure.
We'll speed run it. That way we can get the full 9 yards here. So we'll 2 times it all the way through. I'll
Sure,
wrap
sure,
Gauge
sure,
on
sure.
you. Short angle, short angle, short angle, deep in the angle. Keep rotating right. She doesn't have recall, so you keep rotating. I mean, this is good. Keep rotating. Keep rotating.
Right,
Keep rotating.
right.
I would prefer high ground because it's going to get you closer. Right? You see the problem with your angle? Too far. So get closer from here, and then you shoot Doom, and then you blink here, and you shoot more Doom, and then you wrap around here, and then you go, oh, I'm gonna shoot these guys instead. Right? If Doom chases you here, you shoot the Doomfist because you shoot the person contesting you on the angle. The problem here is just, it's too far. Now you could apply cart pressure. That is one of those 3-dimensional tracer angle things that you can do. But the
Yeah,
problem
yeah.
is that it will put you in the middle of a firing range. Like you said, you will get shot. So probably better to just go high ground here. You could feel your lack of range, so you rotate.
Yeah.
This is where you're losing APM but gaining value. You see it?
Okay.
We talked about this on first defense.
Yeah,
or first
yeah,
attack.
yeah.
Oh, I don't want to be at no downtime. No, this is not uptime.
That's
Right?
not up. Okay.
It's not
Okay.
uptime.
She does
This-
turn around though. She does turn around.
Right, but at what cost, right?
Yeah,
At what cost?
not much,
She's gonna turn
not
around. She's
much.
gonna go, "What is that, jackass?" Oh, and then she's gonna ignore you. She's gonna ignore you, right? Like,
Right,
congrats, you
right.
got a quarter of a second of attention. This is uptime. Because from
Okay.
here, you're like, okay, maybe I spoke too soon. But yeah, you're basically, you're thinking, okay, I get 3 blinks here. What do I do next? And then there you go. Like now we're in a position to actually
Right.
contribute. I will say none of this would be a problem if you just taken high ground, but
Okay.
at least you're making lemonade out of lemons. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At
yeah,
least you
yeah.
did eventually get close, right? So that's the
Okay.
key thing here. And this is fine. Keep shooting him. Close angle. It's that simple. Moron. That was actually a pretty good bash, I will say.
Yeah. I was.
That was pretty good bash. I'll give credit where credit is due. And you held the angle, so we're still doing stuff. You know, all right. Yeah, keep holding the angle. I mean, you're just stop it. Juno's not your responsibility. Why? Because she's not convenient. Hold the angle. Keep shooting. Hold the angle. Keep shooting. If you want to go for Juno, how do you go for Juno?
Left and
Left. You're right there. That's it. You go here or
Okay.
you shoot the Doomfist.
Okay.
You got close in a really bad way, but you got close, so we're actually doing things. And I would rather you die here than do nothing here. The problem was is that you should have just used the angle that you set up for and gotten value out of that. But your ball, as guess, is the GOAT. Oh, no, he's not the GOAT. You do lose this. Okay.
We get it eventually. I don't even remember from what.
Again, high ground rotation. It's going to feel infinitely easier.
Yeah.
Good thing Tracer's here, but yeah, this is good. Yeah, this is good. This is good. This is good again. Why? Because this entire lane was uncontested, so you don't need to stop.
Yeah,
Just keep
yeah.
merging. If there had been anybody here, you need to duel them.
Okay.
Chase, because she's low.
Okay.
And you got close, so cooking.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
we go hog. That's why. Yeah.
I think Hog was pretty good in this situation.
Oh, okay. This was like, I'm way too far, but I'm not feeling the attack or the defense high ground. So I went here and then I died because I like miss idea
Okay,
where
so-
the doorway is. But I know I'm really far. But I was like, I don't really know where else I'm needing to play because I feel like people are gonna take me out of that little cubby.
You could
to the
do
left.
this here, but you just need to be ready to run because you're going to get 0 help from your team because your teammates are not going to fight at all. So I'm okay
Yeah,
with
I
this.
try to, but I blink into a wall and then I'm like, where is it?
Yeah. I mean, if you live back here, it's okay. I think actually your best option is literally just go back in this room. Do the same thing.
Okay.
Do the same
Okay.
thing. Shoot the Orisa, shoot the angle. You get the fight to here, then you start to deepen your angles from there. But yeah,
I think that's part of the I'm worried my APM's not high enough if I'm just waiting there, so I'm gonna keep going because
I mean,
I can, but that's
the
yeah.
irony is you'll do more waiting here because you're going to be even more. Basically, the fight they will 5v1 you here, so you have to hide and let them
Right.
kind of start to go to point and then fight them. Whereas here, you can at least contest them here, like on the way, right?
Okay.
It was at a fine angle, but you just need to expect them to chase you because there's nobody there. It's that you're there
Right.
before the fight starts. You have to
Okay.
rotate. You have
So
to
it
rotate.
was you would say that it was like okay to be there because I was the second
Yeah, it's a
guessing myself
gamble.
while I was
It's
there.
a gamble, but there is value for the gamble. I mean, if you can kind of basically either play like wounded, wolf here and pretend to like, oh look, chase me guys, chase me, right? And I mean, that can work.
Right.
Or you could just sit there and lurk and wait for them to walk out completely oblivious
Okay.
and then pincer from behind. I mean, again, thumbs, right? There's not many choices. There's that or pretty much here. This kind of cheeks, right? Like you're just gonna get poked from multiple different angles. That's pretty much all you can do.
Okay.
Now I will say
This was bad. This got so bad.
I say that, but this is the one circumstance where going coast makes sense. Let me
Okay.
explain. This angle's marked. It's too far. You're gonna have to triple blink and get recall force immediately.
Yeah.
This is your value.
Okay.
Why? Because there's nobody there. If they peek there, you blink and you rotate this way. Make sense?
Right. Right.
So
Okay.
this is map specific knowledge that you probably need to send a replay viewer on your bad maps and try to crash out, because this is not easy. This is not easy at all. If you
Okay.
feel useless right now, you're not stupid. This is just hard.
Okay. This was I don't know what it was.
I mean, this right now you're being useful, right?
Well, now it is, but
Yeah,
the
yeah,
setup
yeah.
to get here was just like.
Well, right, because the setup's impossible. Like it's almost impossible. But yeah, it's not like you're dumb. It's this is not easy.
Right.
Which is why you look at these maps.
I do go coast here.
Yeah, it's
and
good.
I make a play that you're gonna
need
be
to
like,
commit.
wait,
You
what
need
is
to commit.
this?
You need to commit sooner, right? You need to commit
Sooner?
sooner because
Okay.
well, you're second guessing yourself here. But remember, what's the reward for this risk right now? It's too far, right? It's just pointless. You might as well just commit here or commit under. You might as well, right? Because now, okay, this is fine.
Now,
so
I did this to drop him because I knew he was gonna.
Okay,
But then I
sure,
leave
but
with recall.
sure, but be here. Don't go here.
Okay.
Be here. You gotta get what I'm
be
saying?
here.
Be here
Right.
3 seconds ago, 4 seconds ago, so you don't have to recall. If he drops here now and you have 1 or 2 blinks, you go
Right.
blink here, see a loser, or blink here, see a loser. And now
Okay.
not only is he out of position, but you are in position. You
So just
juke him-
faster.
Right, but now both of you are out of position. You see this?
Yeah.
So it was a fine play. You got a 1-for-1 trade here, but
Would
it's
you
like,
say that's value? Like, is
Okay.
is this real value?
Of course it's real value, but it's like saying that like I did nothing and I woke up at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock and then I started my work. I mean, congratulations, you started work, but why didn't you get up at 9? You get what I'm saying?
Right,
Like
right,
you
okay.
got value. This is better. This right here is better than standing here and poking here
Okay.
because you forced close range. You understand?
Okay. Got it.
But it's not the most value you could have gotten because you were slow to do so.
Okay.
And like right now, I know you
no
don't have
value.
recall, but you got to go. You got to start thinking because you're not getting value right now. You're like, oh, I don't want to. No,
No.
you have to leave. You're not doing anything right now. Go. Where do you need to go?
To the right, I guess.
Could go right. Yeah.
Or
could go
the
right.
left and
You could go
around
left.
behind
You could go left
me.
and do the exact same thing. You got it. Both of them angle close.
Right.
Yeah. This is good. This is good. Because I know there's fear right now, but the problem, the reason that you feel urgency right now is because you didn't make hay
Do it
while the
sooner.
sun shined. Right. You should have
Right.
already been here. You should have already been, I don't know, here, right? Or here, right? It's too late. So now there's a sense of urgency because you didn't take the
Yeah.
time to set up. And the reason that you didn't set up is because you were scared to leave mid-fight when you weren't providing value. When it's raining, sleep so that you can make hay when the sun shines. You know what I'm saying? Instead, you're like,
Right.
oh, it's raining. I need to be making hay. So then you're exhausted and the sun's shining and you're in bed, right?
Okay.
That's the
Yeah.
big problem.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah. Okay. So setup seems fine. Say movement, maybe
Setup
strafe a bit
generally
more.
fine, especially on defense.
Right.
Don't get caught mid-fight chasing uptime at range. Evaluate your effective value by rotating to close angles. And that's hard, right? It's easy to set up at
Yeah,
close angles.
yeah.
It's hard to continue. Strafing versus projectiles versus hit scan. I mean, obviously, it's not just all hit scan. Like Soldier, I still think longer strafes because tracking carrows. But yeah, just a good general thing to look at. Um,
Mid like
oh yeah.
mid fights. Yeah.
Shooting people who contest you on angles. Don't over prioritize supports. I think that was a consistent theme, whether it was Ana or Juno. It was like, I have to shoot the supports, which there's a
Yeah.
heavy bias towards that. Not always, but there was a heavy bias towards that. So whenever we caught you shooting the wrong thing, it was always a support, always, right? So at the expense
Yeah.
of the tank that's shooting you or the DPS that's shooting you, or
I
sometimes
think
the
that's
support.
just from like the 8 years of Overwatch, which is just go after healers because they're
Yeah,
the
yeah. Well, the reason why that was often good advice is because the way to go after healers usually meant flanking or taking an angle, right? So like it kind of
Oh, right.
that's
Okay.
why it ends up working because it ends up accidentally putting you in good positions. But if you take that out of
Okay.
your mind and then you just take an angle and shoot whatever, then now you can shoot tank or whatever you want. It
Right.
doesn't really matter
Okay.
anymore.
Okay.
All right. Any questions?
Um. mm, Intrinsically, no,
Okay.
no, no,
Okay.
nothing. I think this was